Good evening. My name is Joe Caputi. I'm the Executive Director of the Louisa Arts Center, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you here this evening. I'm just thinking about how extraordinary this is, all of you here for this one amazing individual. You know, we could have filled this theater 10 times over as we were planning this event, and then we even looked into the John Paul Jones, but sadly it's booked tonight. So instead we're here and we get to show off this beautiful facility here in Louisa. As you know, the Louisa Arts Center is a community-based, nonprofit organization, located in and dedicated to the town and county of Louisa and Central Virginia. Aside from the ability to bring exceptional programs such as this one to you, we are a performing and visual arts center bringing a vast range of culturally diverse performances and gallery exhibits each season. I invite you to pick up a copy of our performance schedule on your way out this evening, and I also especially invite you to take in a performance in the near future. Just a quick reminder that we're going to be having Ralph Stanley and the Clinch Mountain Boys on this stage February 19th. It's going to be a special benefit concert for the Louisa Arts Center. It's going to be a great way to support the Arts Center and to experience a once-in-a-lifetime performance in the intimacy of this theater. And speaking of fundraising, and I'll keep it very brief, I hope you all noticed the donation box on the way in. I hope it wasn't subtle. But I just want to remind you that your financial support is what makes it possible to have events such as this one and bring them to you free of charge. As always, we're grateful to have you here, and we're grateful for your ongoing support. I want to offer a very special thank you this evening to the Louisa Arts Center's Board of Directors Vice President, Charles Rawson. He made this entire evening possible. It was Charles who learned of Dr. Grandin being in Virginia, and it was he who brought it to my attention, made contact with Dr. Grandin, and invited her to speak at the Louisa Arts Center. So please give Charles Rawson a hand. There will be time for question and answer after the talk, so please hold your questions until then. I'm going to ask that there is absolutely no photography during the talk, but you can take pictures afterwards, and she will have time to speak to as many as possible. Her time is tight tonight. She's hoping to be out of here by 7:15 or 7:30, and we're taking her up to Dulles because she has to prepare for her next adventure. And also take this moment to just ask you to please turn off your cell phones and at least put them on vibrate. Dr. Temple Grandin is one of the most accomplished and well-known adults with autism in the world. Her fascinating life with all its challenges and successes has been brought to the screen. As many of you know, HBO produced a full-length film, Temple Grandin, which premiered in February of 2010 on HBO, and as many of you also know, it won a Golden Globe for Best Actress. Temple Grandin obtained her BA at Franklin Pierce College and her MS in Animal Science at Arizona State University. Dr. Grandin received her PhD in Animal Science from the University of Illinois in 1989. Today she teaches courses on livestock behavior and facility design at Colorado State University and consults with the livestock industry on facility design, livestock handling, and animal welfare. She has appeared on television shows such as 2020, 48 Hours, Larry King Live, Primetime Live, The Today Show, and many shows in other countries. She's also been featured in People magazine, the New York Times, Forbes, U.S. News World Report, Time magazine, and the New York Times Book Review, and Discovery magazine. Interviews with Dr. Grandin have been broadcast on National Public Radio. She has authored over 400 articles in both scientific journals and livestock periodicals on animal handling, welfare, and facility design. Dr. Grandin is the author of Thinking in Pictures, Livestock Handling and Transport, Genetics and the Behavior of Domestic Animals, and Humane Livestock Handling. Her books, Animals in Translation and Animals Make Us Human, were both on the New York Times bestseller list. Dr. Grandin is listed in the 2010 Time magazine list of 100 most influential people in the world under the category of heroes. So this evening, please join me in welcoming Dr. Temple Grandin.
Sure. Is this mainly an autism audience tonight? Well, oh, you didn't have it on. Okay, well, it doesn't work very well if it's not. We're going to have to get, all right, yeah, I've got to move my water over here because I've got to have my water. Can't function without that. Okay, talk a little bit about autism. And first of all, you know, autism is diagnosed strictly as a behavioral profile. You know, what's the kid like when he's 2, 3 years old? There's no speech, no social interaction, got a lot of sensory issues, a lot of tantrums, scream every time you go to the supermarket. There's no precise test for autism. Oh, also, maybe you could turn these lights down, someone would really appreciate it, or just turn the house lights on. I'd rather not have all those bright lights. I don't like that. Okay, that's a lot better. I like to be able to see and turn these off. I like, in fact, well, the lights bother me, that's why I'm walking out there. Yeah, because I really don't like all those bright lights. Now you're starting to see some of my sensory issues, and things like the microphones feeding back. That's the sort of thing that send a lot of autistic kids just absolutely into a screaming absolute fit. I asked if we could turn those off. Okay, good. Thank you. I much prefer just being able to see the audience like this anyway. That I like a whole lot better. Now, the thing is, autism is a very big continuum, going from child's going to remain nonverbal all the way up to brilliant scientists out on Silicon Valley and artists, and you wouldn't have any computers if you didn't have people a little bit on the spectrum. It is a true continuum. There's no black and white dividing line between geeks and nerds and mild autism. Asperger's is just mild autism. It's a true continuous trait. It's not something like tuberculosis where you either have it or you don't. It's not like that. Now, I can't emphasize enough with little 2 and 3-year-old children the importance of early intervention. You gotta get in and work with these kids. The worst thing you could do with a little autistic kid is to do nothing. That's, absolutely can't do that. You know, if you can't get a diagnosis, you get some grandmothers, you get some students, you get some people in, work with that kid. And you just have got to do that. Now, there's a lot of other disorders that have sensory issues. Oh, you know what? I can actually see the computer back here. I'm going to stand back here. That have sensory issues. And sensory issues are often ignored. And sensory issues can be very, very debilitating. You know, there's some individuals that just absolutely can't go into a Walmart, or they can't tolerate a noisy football game, or tolerate a restaurant where you've got, 10,000 computers going on at the same time. It's just too much overstimulation. But sensory issues are variable. One child will have hearing problems. Another individual will have visual sensitivity problems. Somebody else may have touch sensitivity problems. You're not getting wool against my skin. Absolutely no way. Lots of different problems have sensory issues. And this is something where I'd like to see a whole lot more research on sensory issues. This is just a picture of a little boy putting his hands over his ears. Just sound hurts his ears. And oftentimes the high-pitched sounds are the worst. Things like smoke alarms, stuff like that, the worst. And a kid might be afraid to go into this room because he's afraid that the smoke alarm just might go off. Sees a smoke alarm, he's going to start screaming. Sounds are tolerated better if the child initiates the sound himself. That is often one of the best ways to get them over. You might wrap the smoke alarm up in 5 towels, he reaches in and turns it on, and then gradually you take the towels off. Now the thing is, you go in and you test the hearing, auditory threshold is normal. But a lot of kids where there's language problems, they're not hearing the hard consonant sounds. You know, like if I said cat, they might hear ah. That might be all that they're hearing. So my speech teacher would slow down and enunciate hard consonants. Some people's hearing fades in and out like a really bad mobile phone connection.